Hello, hello. This is Russ, and I'm gonna play around a little bit here with something I call late night stories. And it is things that have occurred to me, that have happened to me on investigations and such. And I have to prelude this with, as a paranormal investigator for many, many years, I've acquired certain abilities, sensitivities that maybe not everybody has, but sometimes I experience stuff that is a little bit unusual. And I'm just giving it a second here to see if we get a few people on here. It is saying that I have too low of FPS. I'm like, why are you being so mean to me? Okay, well, somebody's seen me, so something's working. Does it look pretty good, Nicole? Is it coming through? I'm just getting this message, and I want to make sure that everybody is seeing. But so, anyway, I'm just going to start the story. I hope it works out. Hello, Robert. So this is obviously working. People are seeing it. I'm excited about this. This is going to be fun. The story is about me going up to Bigfoot days in Remer, Minnesota this past weekend. And I had a great time up there. I darn right did. And it just so happened that my partner was not well enough to come along. So I ended up taking our travel van up there myself. And that's kind of where this story starts. I ran up there on Friday night. All's well. I visited with some people. A storm goes through. It was raining cats and dogs. But it finally quiets down. But after I get there, I'm like, well, my plan was to go out in the woods, specifically the Remer State Forest, bury myself out there in the woods somewhere, and maybe I would hear some vocalizations of Bigfoot. It's Bigfoot days. I'm excited to be up there. I'm excited anytime I could be out in the woods. So I get way out there. I'm out there quite a ways, as a matter of fact. And in my timeline, I probably parked about 8:30. I had found a little small clearing off of a road out in the forest there. I didn't even know where I was. Surprisingly, I was able to bring up my Onyx app, which kind of helps you find out your bearings. And it turns out I wasn't in the Remer State Forest. I was in the Chippewa National Forest. And surprisingly even more, just a little coincidence, is that about less than a mile to my north, and I'm kind of giving up a little bit where I was, less than a mile to my north was the Marcel Trail. Coincidentally, because of the fact that I have property in the Marcel area. But, so anyway, I'm out there. I only saw one vehicle the entire way out there, and it long was gone. I get parked in there nice. I decide to have a little snack, and a second vehicle comes. It's this big old white, older, loud muffler Suburban. You know, and if there's anything, I'm not frightened of being out in the middle of nowhere and being in the midst of strange energies, strange animals, this and that. I actually was probably more concerned of being way out in the middle of nowhere and have strange people. But maybe he was out doing the Bigfoot thing too. Who knows? So, but he's driving by real slow. He comes by slow, and then like the next little ways down, I hear him pull over. Less than a quarter mile from me, he pulls over. And I can hear the loud muffler, and it shuts off. I'm like, oh boy, I hope he don't plan on walking over here. And I continued, though. I finished my little snack of chips and cheese I was having. And I'm going through my clothes, going to put on a pair of pajama shorts, whatever. And after a while, I hear him start that big old noisy thing up, and he heads down the other way. And I tell you what, I must have been out there a ways, because that was the last vehicle that came through until about 8:30 the next morning. It was completely quiet. There was not a vehicle that went by, that I knew of anyway. But I got the windows cracked open. I'm there for a specific purpose. I want to hear some potential vocalizations of Sasquatch. That's why I'm there. I'm hoping to pick something up. I've got a device running that I can record them, and that's my purpose. That and, getting some sleep. I got to sleep somewhere. Bigfoot Day's coming Saturday. I expected to get a little bit of sleep before I headed there. So I didn't plan to stay up all night, but I was investigating by all sense of it. So, sitting there in the van. I don't want to get too wordy about all this. And this guy takes off. And I get this feeling. I don't like the energy. I suddenly don't like the energy. I read maybe a chapter. I always keep the Bible there with me. And so I read a chapter out of the Bible. And that kind of helps the energy a little bit. But I still don't quite feel right. I was like, I don't know what's with this little spot. But I need to kind of cleanse some of the energy out. So I say some prayers to kind of cleanse the energy out. And that helps just a little bit. But that's kind of really where some of the story starts. Now it's just me and the forest. And we're out there alone, windows open, trying to listen. So I'm not frightened in general. And I'm sitting there. We at about 10 o'clock or so. I decide, if there's any souls in here, maybe if I try to cross some souls over, ask them to cross, things will clear out, the energy will clear out a little bit. And so I did. I said, if there's any souls out there, let's get you crossed over and get this place a little bit more peaceful. Because really, I wanted to concentrate on Sasquatch. I wanted a nice clean slate there. And like I talked about at the beginning, those of us who have been in this field for a long time acquire sensitivities to it. And though it may be somewhat hard to believe, I have acquired somewhat of a sensitivity to hearing imprinted communication from Sasquatch. I know that's just, a lot of people are like, well, I don't know about that, but, it's true to me. It truly is, and that's part of this story. And so here I am. I'm still in there. I'm still awake. I'm looking out the windows. The sun's gone down, and it's about 10:30. And I've cleaned out the other energies. I've left it wide open for the Sasquatch to communicate at this point. And I get my first contact. And the first thing I see, it's a vision of a family or of a group of Sasquatch. They're there. I do notice, for whatever reason, that one of them is kind of bent over or like kneeling or on the ground. I don't know why, but the rest of them are kind of standing. One's not standing. And they impress the number 8. There's 8 of us. 8 Sasquatch in that frequency. And right after that, they say, one of us is not well. One of us is sick. And so I'm like, well, okay. They didn't have to tell me this. That's the part about it. They don't have to communicate with anybody. But there was a need for them to tell me that one of them was sick. And what does that mean to me? That means that I should probably say a prayer for the sick one, a prayer of healing, like I would for any human being. I would say it for an animal that I see in distress as well. And I see them telling me this as a, hey, we have somebody in distress here, and I do what I do for anybody else. I say a prayer for this sick, injured Sasquatch. And I know, I mean, there's a lot of people would be out there like, they probably hung up the phone already or turned off their Facebook because they're like, that's crazy talk. And if this conversation is not for you, that's absolutely fine. Not everybody receives in the same way. Not everybody is spiritual in the same ways. We're all kind of different people. And I'm just telling you this. It's my late night story. And everything I'm telling you is the absolute truth. I have no reason to make stuff up. I mean, it is what it is. So I'm just going to keep going. So here we are. Hello, Bonnie, by the way. So we're hanging out there. I'm hanging out. I'm by myself, literally by myself. And I go through these prayers. And when I prayed for that Sasquatch, I'd hear a lot of like ticks and creaks inside the van. And I'm like, oh, that's kind of interesting. I don't know what that is. But when those ticks and creaks and noises were there, I noticed that my heartbeat was increasing. And like I was intensely apprehensive, intensely frightened, but high anxiety maybe. And I usually don't get that. That's not something that's normal for me. I've been in a lot of places and a lot of dark places, a lot of situations. And you know what? I don't get something where my heart is going that fast. I mean, maybe just temporarily. But this lasted for over 20 minutes. And finally I'm like, if this doesn't stop, I may have to leave this spot, drive back to town. I mean, I had been offered a place to park at one of the churches, and that certainly would have been a peaceful place to park. But I decided that I wanted to be out in the middle of the woods. And so, anyway, I'm like, I need to stick this out. And I'm just praying, and this heart rate thing is going on, and it won't stop. 25 minutes, still going. 30 minutes. And, and I'm saying some light prayers and stuff. And finally, I'm like, God, I can't take whatever's going on here. I don't know what's causing this, but I need to relax out of this state of anxiety. I can't keep going like this. It needs to stop. I'm asking you if we can stop it. And within about a minute or two, it goes away. And that's how it works sometimes. I absolutely love the energy of the Heavenly Father, the light energy of heaven. That energy is the strongest in the universe. And like I say, within 2 minutes, I was relaxed. But, I mean, that was by far the end of my night. Let's just say that. That just kind of took that away. And I'm like, I know what that means. That means something's there. It potentially is non-human. A lot of times, I'll get it for very small periods of time, right? Small periods of time, your heart rate goes up a little bit. But I knew the entire time my heart rate was beating like that, or, I had that feeling that something was like right there and potentially right in the van. I don't know. I didn't see anything, but I could hear all these noises. And it would kind of quiet down when I wouldn't pray, and then I would say another prayer, shorter prayers, and then the noises would pick up again, and then relax, but the heartbeat kept going the whole time. Whatever presence was there was in that van, I swear. That's the way I feel. I didn't see it, but I just felt it, and that's how it was. So, but like I say, I was dead set on praying for that injured Sasquatch. I don't even know why. I just was it a reason that I was there? I mean, that's potentially the truth. And my throat is getting dry as beanstalks on a dry, hot day. So I gotta have me some V8 here. So anyway, so that's going on. And finally I'm able to relax. Like I say, that was 25, 30 minutes. And after that relaxes, I start to doze off. The window's still open, still listening, but I have a sense of calm for a moment. And I get through that. I'm sleeping for a while. And about 2:30 in the morning, I wake up and I hear what sounds like a car driving by. But it's not like a noisy car. It was almost like the sound of a drone, I would say. It was just kind of a buzz. And I could hear that buzz going on. And I looked to the front of the vehicle. The buzzing, loud noise woke me up. I looked to the front of the van, and I had curtains closed across the front, but I could see a light on those curtains. And I'm like, well, there's a car driving by. That's the first thing that comes to mind. So, I don't know who's driving by, but even though I don't know who it is, you're still curious. So I pick myself up and I lift the curtain up right by my head, and that window's wide open because I had it open. I was, per se, still listening for vocalizations. I lift up the curtain and I look out and I can see where the road goes, and no car comes out the other side. There's nothing. I look back towards the front. The light is gone. The sound is gone. But then suddenly I'm like, did somebody stop? They saw the van and they stopped out on the road? I just say, I'm not big on being out there alone and having a car like pull over nearby you. I mean, like, what do they want at 2:30 in the morning? So I get up out of bed and I sneak as quietly as I can in the van without making too much noise and shaking the van around. And I get to the front curtain and I look out there and I glance left and right quite a bit and back and forth, and I don't see nothing. There's not a car there. I didn't see anything. And honestly, I am too far and too thick of trees for somebody to be cruising with their little drone back and forth. I mean, that's just not really an option in my mind, that was going on and that would be that close to the vehicle with those tall trees. It wasn't a car. I did tell this story once before at the actual event, and somebody said, well, maybe it was the moon that come through. I said, well, that certainly is possible, that the light from the moon was shining for a moment. Maybe a cloud went by, then it was gone. That's a possibility. But why the sound of a drone type noise, like a bzzz? And so I don't know. They couldn't explain it, to tell you the truth. And but I was a little concerned that somebody had stopped there. Nobody there. Nothing. Humming stop, lights gone. And and the road, like I say, this clearing, I'm only about 35 yards into this clearing, so I'm not way out there. The road is pretty close to me, but the road is quite barren at that. I mean, I don't even remember seeing a house on that thing all the way out there. So, or a cabin or anything. So it was a pretty good spot, I thought, to potentially run into Sasquatch. But, so anyway, so that goes by. And, you wake up, suddenly, that energy rushes in you. It takes me quite a while to settle back down. And it probably was good. It did. Good or not good. Because about 3:10, not 40, 50 minutes later, I hadn't fallen asleep yet. And we got these 3 lights across the top of the van. They're what we call starlight windows. And I'm sitting there laying in bed, just staring off into the darkness, I guess. I don't know what else you do when you're by yourself. You're just staring off in the distance, wide awake. And I see an orb come through all three starlight windows. It came from the driver's side, and, the light was big around is probably about 15 inches. And it just floated right past all those. Fairly quick, not slow, fairly quick. And again, so I'm looking out the window again. I'm looking to see where it went. And there's just nothing there. And so now I have two light anomaly situations going on that I can't explain. And 0 Sasquatch vocalizations. And but that's all right. I mean, strange things are going on. Unexplainable things. I don't call them strange, just unexplainable. And after that set of lights goes through, though, I get this calmness upon me. Unlike earlier in the night where I had that weird heart beating anxiety going on, this time it's the exact opposite. Suddenly I am incredibly relaxed. Just amazingly relaxed. So much so that, it was, I swear, 5 minutes went by after I saw that orb go through, that lighted orb, not just an orb, a lighted orb. And there's no reflections, no nothing on it. But that thing goes through, and I'm like, tired. And it was late. But I just was relaxed. Just incredibly relaxed. I just fell right asleep. Just almost. And you think after seeing an orb, a lighted orb, a light in the woods like that you'd might stick up and stay up for a little bit longer. I was out cold. I don't know. I just was so calm all of a sudden. And I fell asleep. And boom, I go straight into this dream. And the dream, falling asleep was so sudden to me that when I went right directly into the dream, I woke up inside of the dream thinking, oh my gosh, what happened? I was confused. And I get up because I heard something outside. And I don't know what's going on yet. And I stumbled to the front of the van, and I'm like looking out the front windows of the van, and I see cows out there. And I'm like, what the world? And I'm looking around, I'm focusing, I'm waking up, and I have the sudden realization that when I drove in the night into my parking spot, that I had parked in a guy's pasture. And I'm like, I don't even know how I could have not seen something. And I get into the driver's seat, and I get the curtains out of the way, I get in the driver's seat, I start the fan up, I start moving towards the road. And on my left, the pasture is on that left side of the road, and there's cows there, and they're milk cows. And on the right side of the road is an old wooden barn. And the cows want to get their way to the barn because it's morning and they want to be milked. And it's just crazy. So I'm like driving the van around these cows and this pasture on this old road to get out of there because it's just nuts why I'm even there. And then I wake up. It was just a dream. I'm like, what the heck is going on? That was so darn weird. And I wake up, and and it had been silent all night. I had several windows open. I didn't hear a darn peep. Other than that, when that first light came through, I heard that buzz. But there was not a peep. I didn't hear a bullfrog. I didn't hear a night bird. I didn't hear nothing. And it was just so quiet. I've never been in the woods when it's been that quiet. And I wake up, and the birds are starting to sing. And Well, they'd probably been singing for a little bit. And the sun is shining on the van a little bit, just cast in a little bit from the side. And I wake up. Of course, I got to go to the bathroom. I step outside. I'm outside for about 45 seconds, and the mosquitoes were all over me. And I turned around. I ran back in the van. And I'm like, well, I want to do at least a little groundwork. I wanted to go out and see, was there any footprints around of anything? Was there anything else that I might have missed? It was dark when I came in. I thought, during the day I had a nice clearing. There was some good dirt on there where I could check for tracks and stuff. And so I get my trousers on and I get my sweatshirt on and different things. And I go out there to fight the mosquitoes one more time. And I'm walking all over this clearing. And, I see some stuff, but nothing that I could declare as a Sasquatch footprint. So no vocalizations, no footprints at this point. But at this exact moment, I hear something running through the woods towards me. It's moving along at a hell of a pace. And I'm like, what the heck? I kind of back up a couple steps. I'm fumbling, reaching for my phone. And I'm like, what is coming? Well, there was a little clearing out in the woods. And it ran through that clearing. And the brush was probably about 5 feet tall. I thought, if that's Bigfoot, by golly, he's a short one. And but I could tell he veered off. He decided not to come in the clearing, whatever it was. I mean, I just had no idea. I was thinking wolf, bear. I didn't have any idea. I knew it wasn't a deer because it just didn't sound like a deer. You could just tell it was some other kind of creature. And so I could sense it was running towards the road, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna catch up with this thing. And I ran to the road, and as I ran, I'm pushing buttons on my phone trying to get the video thing to work. And I get up on the road, I hit the video button, what I thought was the video button. And I'm standing there with this thing facing down the street. And out runs this scraggly looking black bear. He is a scraggly look. I would say he's a juvenile. He's got no weight to him. I mean, he looked like a human that was walking on all fours. Scraggly looking thing. Long arms, long weird looking legs. But he was on all fours, moving along, much like a bear. But like I say, I think because he was so young, he just looked out of proportion. I can't explain it for sure. But he kind of was moving in a gallop. And because his legs were so long, they were like going back. They were like swinging like in a weird little gallop. So when they'd land on the ground, and then they'd kind of shoot back to the side or something. Like he had no control over him after they hit the ground. It was just, it's just the weirdest looking bear run I ever seen. And I was like, boy, am I glad I got that on video. He's in the ditch on the other side by this time. I look up, and I had it on camera. So I took one picture, and the picture is of the road. It's a very nice picture of the road. But he hadn't quite gotten into the road yet. I didn't even get a picture of him. I'm upset, of course. That's the nature of being in this business for some reason. The possibility of things going south on you. You think you got the big moment, and you didn't. Your recorder's off, your camera's not on, your battery's dead. It's just always some story. It's almost ridiculous how often that happens, but it does. And so I'm like, well, I'm gonna go over there and look at the tracks anyway. And I get over there and I see all of his tracks running all the way across. It's definitely a bear track. The fine fingernails, so to speak, of the bear and the paw print. There was no doubt it was a bear. And as I stood there looking at the tracks and taking pictures, he gave me one little whoo, and then he chopped his lips. Bears, when they're a little nervous, they'll like chop at their lips a little bit. And I'm like, he's a little nervous with me being right here. So In the end, I'm like, okay, whatever. And I go back to the van. And you know what? I get ready to go and I start driving out. And I'm thinking about, well, I didn't get any vocalizations to tell anybody about. I didn't see any Sasquatch tracks. But I had a heck of a good night. I mean, it was a good night. It was fun. It was ups and downs, and back to Remer I went. I went to the pancake breakfast. I had breakfast with some friends there and had a great time. Told them a little bit of my story, and the day went on. And Bigfoot days it was. But that's my story about Bigfoot days. Hey, I hope you like this kind of stuff. I do hope. I've got a number of different things. Most all my stories are of a supernatural, Christian type of portrayal of something that I experienced in my life. And if you guys want to listen to it, I'm going to try to keep always the same title. So if I go live, I'm going to use that title. And that means I'm about to tell you a story, a supernatural story, a little something that I experienced. So I can't even see if anybody's watching right now, but I hope somebody is. There's a few comments on there, and I said hi to everybody. So, hey, maybe it's too late. It's a little late, but I hope you enjoyed it. Please, if you like it, give me a little like, leave a comment, subscribe button, different things like that. Let me know that this is the kind of thing you're interested in, and I'll do more. Absolutely. Good night, everybody.